Well. What's up to all our sidekicks and henchfolk out there in the Geek Nation? You're currently tuning into the CultPop podcast live stream, aka Spoiler Alert. That's the name of the show. It's episode 786. I'm going to drink this beer, wherein we will review some of this past week's comics, as well as some fun meanderings that are pop culture related, hopefully. I'm your host, Johnny Destructo of Johnny's Hero Complex, located at 4327 Main Street, Philadelphia, PA. It's a comic shop. Come to it and buy some comics. Joining me this very now, Bartocci. This very now on top of this time. And Brian Lieb. What's up, nerds?
Hi. How you doing?
My nose is itchy. Every time we go live, my nose gets real itchy.
Maybe that's it's just a sense, or it's a psychosomatic reaction to being on camera. You just think you're itching. You're broken. You're broken.
I have new lighting, so now I'm trying to figure out where to put the mic so that there's not a huge mic shadow.
I was watching a YouTube video not too long ago. It was a really good essay, a video essay. And other people, somebody that was complaining about the thesis of the video had mentioned that, like, blah, 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 that guy with bisexual lighting in his video. And that's what you have. It's like the sweet hue of neon hue. And he kept, in his like bitchy video, he kept calling it bisexual lighting. I was just like, I mean, okay.
It's a lot like the lighting in Loki, I'll be honest with you. And you've got
bisexual lighting.
He's pretty bisexual, right?
Yeah,
I don't
very much so.
Is he bi or poly? Or not poly?
He is interested in at
everything.
Least two genders.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, pansexual. Thank you.
Pansexual. That's the guy. Well, I am not bisexual so far. So
your lighting is.
I'll take it. I like it. That's so funny. What a weird. And it was like supposed to be an insult.
Yeah. Which was the funnier part. Yeah. What are you guys drinking?
Anyway,
Robert Monroe Jr. asks. Water. I'm hydrating
water
tonight.
Myself too. Yeah. It's big.
Jay, do you want to admit what you're drinking?
Oh, I will freely admit. My favorite summertime beverage is Bud Light Lime. Pretty much anything lime flavored, I'll drink it. Normally, I take like half of the Bud Light Lime and I mix it with lemonade. So I've got a nice little shandy going. But I didn't have time. I was running behind. So I just grabbed a Bud Light from the fridge. Bud Light Lime.
That's a shandy?
I never drink Bud Light. But I will always drink Bud Light Lime.
Wait, so that's a shandy? The lemonade and beer together? That's what that is?
Yes. Oh, no?
I don't know enough. Yeah, it's fine. I don't know. I don't know enough to just be like, no, yes. I don't know. It's lemon
that was my
beer.
Understanding of a shandy is like a juice.
Like an Arnold Palmer with beer instead of tea.
Yeah.
I thought it was more involved in that, like during the brewing, not just mixing. But I don't know. Maybe. Oh. I honestly never looked into it.
I am not a beer connoisseur. I don't care about beers. I don't equate any sort of masculinity with whatever beer you drink, although IPAs are bullshit and should be cast from the earth.
I mean, there's two really good IPAs.
Nope.
Of all, there are two really good IPAs. Yeah.
What are they?
Oh, it's Dirt Wolf and Hazy All Day. That's it. Just the two that aren't gross. Yeah.
Oh. A shandy.
Robert Monroe says, I like that low-key lighting, JD.
Nice.
And CultPop Podcast responded, thanks, Robert. Apparently it's bisexual. Thanks, Robert. Apparently it's bisexual. Thanks, Robert.
Thanks,
Apparently
Robert.
It's bisexual.
Apparently it's bisexual.
Robert
Monroe Jr. says, good evening, CultPoppers. What did you get last week? I've just started picking up comics regularly again. On Sunday, I got Blood Syndicate 2, Manor Black 3, Naomi 4, and Nubia, Queen of the Amazons 1, Radiant Black 15, and Aquaman. I also found a copy of Philadelphia 1 on the shelf. Couldn't believe there was one still hanging around. Philadelphia one was great, but I didn't keep up. I wonder if it's still good. I didn't either. I read the first volume for book club, and then that's it. That's as far as I got.
Ditto. I got the first volume and was just like, it's solid, but never continued. I think I did. I think I didn't care for the art as much. Like the story was good, but the art wasn't doing it for me. Yeah.
Oh, and Todd Engel says, hello, I usually try Facebook, but trying this podcast hasn't started yet. Oh, that was back at 9:12. It has started. Hi. You wouldn't know it because we're not talking about comics yet.
The podcast has started. The broadcast has begun. Yes.
Okay.
What did you
Hi.
What
did we what?
I didn't know if you were going to answer the question fully. He said, what did you guys pick up this week? What did you read last week?
Oh, that's
anything
right. There was a question.
Aside from what was assigned to you, Brian?
No, nothing.
No?
Not a thing.
JD, any time to read anything other than what was assigned to you? Yeah, what are you reading in general? Yeah.
I started The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Oh,
not comics. Nice.
Gosh, that's it.
All right. How is
everything else was for the show
doing thus far?
Good. I forgot how it's written. It's written in such a way that I find myself with my ADHD rereading lines over and over again.
I saw a passage from it printed on the side of like a construction site. You know how they wrap them sometimes in art or whatever in New York City. And I read it and I was like, oh, that was good. And then I noticed that it was from, I don't remember if it was The Great Gatsby, but it was definitely F. Scott Fitzgerald. And I was like, wow, it sounds very modern even, you know? And I find that to be particularly interesting and impressive when an author can go a very long time and still have something that they wrote sound like it could have been written today, you know?
Yeah, right, isn't it? It's in third person, which is it's like the best, or it's like the only popular example that people have of fiction that's written in third person. Because most of the time, third person is omniscient, but it's not omniscient, I believe. Right? It's the reporter character speaking in third person about Gatsby or something. Like it's done in. It's almost like there's a distance between the narrator and the subject, which is not normal in fiction, or there's not many like good examples of it being done well.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's cool. Robin Monroe says, I'm drinking Elysian's Contact Haze Hazy IPA. Quite tasty.
And so you were talking shit about his beer.
I was. Sorry. It should be heated into the sun. I read Primordial graphic novel today, and it's maybe my favorite of everything Jeff Lemire has written. Not read Primordial. Did anyone else hear?
We read the first issue together.
Did we? What was it about?
Animals in space. They came back.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, the guy,
the monkey, and the yes,
that was cool.
We did like that. That's true.
That was really good. Yeah. That reminded me of the Primordials, not the story, just the name. When Todd Engel brought it up just now, the 1990s comic about, I believe, intelligent or anthropomorphic alien animals, written, at least co-written by Leonard Nimoy. He's cool.
Excuse me.
I've never heard of that. That's cool.
It did not last very long. I saw it once when I got it. I'm not sure I've ever seen another copy anywhere else. But I was into it.
Nice. I think, like to segue into the one letter we have. Speaking of Jeff Lemire, he had new comics come out this past week, but it was an original graphic novel. I didn't have a chance to read it. The Passageway, which I guess him and Andrea Sorrentino are doing a series of graphic novels that'll all kind of align with each other, maybe like 2 a year or something. And this was the first one. So I believe Saint Saucy read it. And
we do have an email from Saint Saucy. It's called Do a Power Bomb / The Passage. So I didn't get to make the trip to Chicago due to my car needing work and a tattoo appointment next Monday that's going to run about $750 minimum. I was able to order the exclusive covers online, though. I really enjoyed the first issue of Do a Powerbomb! I have theories on the identity of Cobra Sun that I'm curious to see if you share. As for the passage, I liked it. I'm sure I'll read the rest of this Bone Orchard mythos as it comes out, but I'm not sure why it had to change its format through the series. I still say that Andrea Sorrentino is carrying Lemire to greatness with their art. Chris St. Saucy, good night.
How do you guys feel about Andrea Sorrentino?
Nope, not for me. I do not like it.
Right? It's just photo references with some filters, right? Like it's
Yes.
not terrible. It's like serviceable. Like the best it's been is just serviceable. So
it reminds me of Alex Maleev when he traces photographs.
Well, I actually like Maleev more. But
Maleev can he can, what's the word? Improvise.
Yeah.
He can improvise. Like he starts with a basis of like drawing over photographs, but he's able to improvise. I have seen him draw from scratch without tracing. So yeah, I haven't seen Andrea Sorrentino. He's only had that style. I've ever seen that style from that person. That's
it services the books well. I like Gideon Falls, is it? And Primordial. It's like it's fine, but the statement of Sorrentino is bringing Lemire's work to new heights. I don't know if I
He's
subscribe.
He's carrying Lemire to greatness.
Oh, that's
even
I feel
worse.
Like Lemire, love him or hate him, and I'm like super lukewarm on Jeff Lemire in general. He's pretty fucking prolific. I don't know if anybody's carrying him anywhere.
Yeah.
Man's
doing his own work for sure.
Yeah.
Anywho,
he's got a new book every other week.
Thanks, Chris. And Phil said, as a member of the LGBT community, both DC Pride and the Wiccan Hulkling are so focused on kissing and pairing up. Give me Midnight and Apollo, but maybe I am just old. What I'm taking from that is that he wants more action-based storytelling with relationship stuff a little in the background. More like early Peter Parker, MJ, Gwen, like, oh, we've got our monthly adventure, but then there's also some will they won't in the background kind of stuff. That's the way I'm taking that. And I feel like that's kind of true. I do feel like a lot of the Pride stories are mostly about the relationship stuff. But of course, it's a Pride series. The whole thing is about relationship, right? So like Pride itself is about relationships. But I had said you should check out the Tim Drake Pride issue because that is an overarching story that just happens to coincide with him coming out as bisexual.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, we'll talk about we're reviewing Hulkling and Wiccan and Tim Drake, so we'll talk more in detail about it. But I am getting they do all feel like it's not that they're only focused on the relationships. They're relationship comics. You could take them or leave them as they go, but they they don't seem to actually explore the relationship part. It's just all surface level, or they don't have enough time to go more than surface level, right? So like we read Bolero, which was like the best representation of other than same or like of same sex and intersectional relationships. Shit, when the book didn't focus on that is when it got really weird and boring. It was like that was like the best part, and it was gayer than gay. So it's not that it's the LGBTQ part. It's just it seems like these quick anthologies are either they don't have the space to actually tell a story that just involves LGBTQ, or it's just surface level because we've got 5 pages go. So it just feels like, okay. I mean, it's YA. It's not really like meaty. There's nothing on the bone, right?
Yeah, it may also just be the stories that those writers wanted to tell. They may have chosen to tell that kind of story each individually, without any sort of overarching mandate. I mean, not mandate, like it's from somebody on higher up in the company, just without a designated theme. But it might also just be that theme kind of suggests a romantic pairing to a variety of people, to many people.
You know what I'd like to, speaking of Spider-Man, I was talking about Spider-Man, Peter Parker, just a little bit ago. And he's usually who I go to if there's like a comment section where there's like a pride comment section and people are getting fucking diddle-dicky about it. Like, oh, were you this upset when Peter was dating MJ and Gwen and Betty and, all this other stuff? They're like, oh, keep romance out of comics. We just want to read good stories. And I'm like, okay, go back to reading Spider-Man where he has multiple people he's dating. So what I would like to see, if we're talking about characters who are bi, like Tim or Kal-El, son of Kal-El, John Kent, I wouldn't mind something like that where it's like a Peter Parker, early Peter days, right? Where he's got two love interests. Why not one girl is a love interest, the guy's a love interest, and just make it part of the story, like the overarching story theme like that, like Peter used to do.
Wasn't that a thread that we were on? Like, I think I was on that with social media with you where somebody was not complaining about, somebody was actually very positive about Superman, Son of Kal-El and how it's a great book, but they refuse to read it because they still disagree with aging up John. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like that ship is sailed. Just fucking get over it.
There are people who still are like, I haven't read Spider-Man since One Brand New Day. Like, get
whatever.
Over it. That was like 15 years ago.
Yeah, it doesn't, like, it was kind of stupid in general, but they, despite themselves, find themselves really, really enjoying the book and don't understand why people have a big deal about it. His relationship status is not the most important part of the book, blah, blah, blah. But then it was just like, yeah, but I bet you this Jay Nakamura kid, he's going to end up being the villain because they keep seeding these like tropes throughout the issues of like, where's the turn happening, right? And I hope when that happens that everyone just won't freak out about it. I'm like, well, I mean, that's a comic book trope in general where a new relationship is revealed to be something else however many issues in. Whatever deal you make out of it is what the deal that's going to get made. Like, I don't think it'll be like the book has been so thoughtful up until now. I don't think it's going to become like a gay erasure thing. It's just comic books, right? Like, relax.
That doesn't seem like a Tom Taylor move.
It was so moot.
And Todd says in the comments here, there is more to being LGBT than just pairing up. The whole thing about coupling up is actually heteronormative, which is true.
Well, is it true? I mean, that is certainly an overriding thing that happens across many societies, but there are many heterosexual expressions that do not involve pairing up. You know what I mean? Arguably, even in our current society, where people have casual sex without long-term commitment. You know what I mean? But I'm thinking about more like other societies with what's that?
I think statistically it's more the norm than variations. Like it doesn't remove the existence of other styles or types of relationships or couplings so much as, I mean, we were all kind of raised this. The last couple of generations have been raised of the normative of coupling up and partnering in general.
Well, in fact, only man and women could get married.
Up until
well, yeah, but that doesn't mean that pairing up is like inherently heteronormative or normatic as
the way that it's being depicted in a lot of comics. It is just kind of a same-sex heteronormative trope.
Yeah. Like I don't think Todd is pair up.
Yeah. I don't think Todd is saying that only straight people couple up in a heteronormative kind of way. Just that these comics, these stories, they're so surface level. They seem to only swap genders or sexual orientations with the normal heteronormative like tropes or norms of modern comics.
Oh no, I was saying more like I don't think pairing up in monogamous pairs is heteronormative. You know, I'm saying that like there are many, many other expressions of heterosexual behavior, both in our society and in other societies. And even so, even if it is statistically greater, it's only been that way for a drop in the bucket compared to all of human existence. That, I just think it's unwise to even look at that as heteronormative. Of course, on the other side, I know various LGBT people who are paired up, and have known many LGBTQ couples in my lifetime that have paired up because they wanted to pair up.
Yeah. I think where we're at right now, as far as storytelling is concerned in pop culture with the queer community, is we're just now scratching the surface of it, and all of the stories are mostly about the fact that they're queer. That's at the forefront of the story, because we're trying to make headway into making it a more normalized piece of story, right? So like we're dipping our toes in right now, and as things go on further and further, that's where I'm hoping we'll get to things like what I was saying earlier about a character who's bi actually dating both sexes, or both genders at the same time.
Yeah, and
two of the genders, I should say.
I am cognizant of, so the normalizing and just like representation matters, just period. I love these initiatives, but I'm starting to get to the point, my readership, I'm starting to get to a point where these stories aren't really for me anymore, because they're more for, they haven't gotten past scratching the surface, and I've read so many, right? So like I want to read, like, so we're going to talk about Huckling and Wiccan later. That to me, that's a perfect example of like, it's very twee, it's cute, it's sentimental, it's just, what if we dated someone else? It's just like it's a trope in other romance comics that have happened a million times, and no matter what the orientation of those people, I still wouldn't like, it wouldn't matter to me, right? So like I still wouldn't enjoy reading it, because it's just like, it's a rom-com. I don't care. But
I was actually going to make
because all that stuff matters. But real quick, because all that stuff matters, I feel a certain way about critiquing it and not wanting to be misinterpreted, right? Yes. Like, I am not a fan of this type of story. This narrative didn't do anything for me, but I recognize it's important that we are fucking getting these comics. So it's like, be better. Just be better.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Robert Monroe Jr. said, having superheroes hanging out in bathhouses, having casual hookups would be a bit much for a lot of people. I had a similar thought earlier, because I had watched a movie when we were just talking about this now, different types of relationships and whether or not pairing up is heteronormatic. Is that the word? I've never heard that one. But I watched a movie this week, which we're doing for Movie Club next Tuesday, called
Fire Island.
And that was one of the most delightful romantic comedies I have seen in the last couple of years. But I'm not entirely sure that sort of relationship is ripe for mainstream big two superhero storytelling, where they go to a place specifically to hook up. Because you don't really see that with a lot of hetero comics. Is like people just hooking up with each other, right? It's usually like a romance of some sort, not like.
Yeah, they've got to specifically be that character, and even those characters are pretty rare.
I was going to say, just the idea of casual sex is not something that's in most modern superhero comics.
There's like a few, like Iron Man, sometimes Green Arrow, I think.
Iron Man's a himbo. Green Arrow, I don't remember, but I do remember. She-Hulk was very sex positive.
Oh, it's true. That's true.
And part of the story, though, was that people gave her real shade about that shit. But it was a good story.
Anyway. I would like to know Robert Monroe Jr. Yes?
Spider-Man and Black Cat. Like during
people lost their shit when that happened.
They were just hooking up and keeping masks on, kind of thing. I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But people lost their shit. Yeah.
I want to know if in these bathhouses they have the towels that they have are influenced by their costumes, right? John Ken has like a blue towel with a red gold stripe.
Unless they have a public persona, mask on, mask off. There's so many questions. I'm
thinking of it like the Marvel swimsuit issues from the 1990s.
You mean from July of this year? I think they solicited some. Like they're doing it
really?
again.
I didn't know that.
Well, like they're doing it again. They're in like the new Connect or the new catalog.
Sweet.
Just
then
like
yes, the modern
Batman
ones.
in a Speedo with a fucking cowl.
Yeah, I want like a bat symbol on his black and gray towel, you know? Or robe.
All right, let's move on to the comics. Do Powerbomb #1 from Image Comics, written and drawn by Daniel Warren Johnson. He of Wonder Woman Dead Earth fame, as well as Murder Falcon fame, two of my favorite projects from the past couple of years. Lona Steelrose, who wants to be a pro wrestler but lives in the shadow of her mother's success before her. But everything changes when a wrestling-obsessed necromancer asks Lona to join the grandest and the most dangerous pro wrestling tournament of all time. So, this was great. I was very much looking forward to this because I like Daniel Warren Johnson quite a bit. And I'm not a big wrestling guy. I did like the Glow TV show. It's a shame that got canceled early. But I've never been a huge wrestling guy. And this was awesome. And of course, with all of the really kinetic artwork and all the big bombastic drawings, there's also a heart of gold. This one, I should have known it was coming, but it still got me. And I really enjoyed this. And then the cliffhanger was awesome. I thought this was a really well done first issue. It set everything up the way it needs to be set up. The art is fantastic. And it, like I said, it's got heart. I really like this. What did you think, Noel?
Same. This was the best thing I read this week. It was the same kind of energy as Murder Falcon. Daniel Warren Johnson has refined his, we've been reading his stuff maybe the last 3 or 4 years on and off and just been fans ever since, but it's getting better. It's still getting better. His art is it hasn't plateaued, but it's just as strong as it was, but his storytelling is getting better. To answer St. Saucy's question about I didn't think for a second about the identity of the bad guy. It wasn't even a nut hair of a consideration. There was so much going on in this book. I did not even think a mystery was necessary. He is just a baddie who didn't mean to do what he did.
Yeah. Actually, I don't think he's a baddie at all.
No, I don't
I'm sorry. So. I didn't get that he was bad at all. He was just her foil in the ring. I imagine that they probably had beers the night before the show. In the wrestling world.
It's the husband.
That's what I thought. But the husband
I didn't think about it until right now.
The husband was in the stands with the kid.
No, the uncle was in the stands with the kids.
The uncle was.
Oh, you're right. It is the husband.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He killed his wife.
He seems so much larger than the husband.
Hold on. I don't buy that either. That is not the response one has when he accidentally drops his wife and breaks her neck. I didn't mean
Yeah.
You're going to get more from that character than I didn't mean. You know what I mean? He's not there. The kid jumps up and is like, "Mom, wake up! Mom, wake up!"
I don't know. Well, baddie or not, larger story or not, it is set up as the foil because they do kind of allude to him being part of the big tournament of the dead that she's about to be a part of. So it is going to be the foil, and then we'll probably much like all of his other stories where he pulls the rug out from under you right before it ends. I'm sure there's a larger story to it, but I'm just in for the ride. This was fun as shit.
Yeah, man, this is great. Brian.
So I also do not care about wrestling, and I generally do not gravitate to stories about sports games, right. Because I don't care what happens in the real world. I definitely don't care what happens if the stakes are the game, which happens in a lot of stories. Now, if there's enough going on outside of the sports thing, I probably still won't gravitate to it, but I can enjoy it if I happen to read it. This one I thought was good. His art was really good, but he's not drawing anything interesting, right? it's just some wrestling stuff that, right? So there's nothing cool looking like in so many of his other pieces. Something more...
I disagree.
Yeah,
I think even though he's drawing just a wrestling match, this is the best looking wrestling match I've ever seen.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. You know, I agree. But I mean the subject matter.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like you don't like I'd like to double down. Like I wouldn't even say it's the best wrestling match like I've seen. Just the choreography from panel to panel to show me to get me into the action. I was actually like cheering, and I found myself intentionally not. So I read this physical, not digital. So I mean, you could see peripherally the page to the right. I found myself not inadvertently looking because I wanted to just like stay in the panels, which with other books, I'll just like, you know, kind of gaze over and there's a reveal, like cool, whatever. But like this was the choreography for those matches was so well done. Even just look at this page. Really cool, yeah. Look at this page where it's just cool. the mother and daughter laying in bed together. That's all that is happening there. They're having a conversation, and look at that middle page. That is masterful comic booking.
I think that is probably the best page of the issue, or the best panel of the issue. Like it's really cool, especially given what looks like it is going to be the story.
Yeah,
this is another one that, you know, I brought it up last week. It's another first issue where the most interesting thing happens on the last page.
I never understand I need you to make that make sense to me. It is a cliffhanger of the first issue. Isn't that supposed to be the most interesting part of the book?
Okay, fair enough. Yes. But the thing that the book is about is revealed in the cliffhanger of the first issue.
Yeah.
You know. Right. I don't think that was super common even a couple of years ago. I think they would tend to put you into the world quicker.
I understood what you were saying last week, because there is a bad habit in modern comics, and we read them all the time, where they are rushing to the finale of the issue to just do like it's almost like they reverse engineer the last page, and it feels inorganic. I am validating your comment about that there.
All right.
With this issue, though, I feel like you're conflating the plot with what the book's about, because what the book is about was revealed in the second page, the bond between the mother and the daughter, and then it just kept validating that over and over again with her wanting to pretty much repeat her mother's life, right?
Yes.
The whole supernatural mystical shit, yes, that's not revealed until the very, very end, but I think that's plot, not the story. Does that make sense?
Well, it does make sense, but I like plot. But also, what was the synopsis? Right? The synopsis was Lona gets tossed into a battle of the underworld. That's a fucking
hook.
Right?
That's just a hook that they write for solicitations. Like, how many times have we read shit that Wish didn't know that? Or
now it may be also that I am just wearying of reading first issues and not I never get to the next one, right? And that's I could get to the next one, but so I maybe just have been seeing a lot of the story getting rolling and then never going on with the story. So maybe that's just a part of my reading habit. It may also be that more modern writers write with an eye toward the trades, right? And if this was the first chapter in a however many page thing, then I wouldn't think twice about it. I probably would have already read the next parts,
Yeah.
I mean, that's been my fucking soapbox for years, guys. Like, why I still read some comics in issues and some comics in trades. Some are better in issues with the baked in time between and the way that they're constructed, whereas some are this could pile up and I'd enjoy it just as much. So Kevin, I do think that there's a form function kind of scenario here.
Kevin says, I'm on Brian's side. That cliffhanger needed a little bit more setup for me too.
Now, Kevin, I appreciate that. And yet right before that, I was going to recant a little bit as I thumbed through or index fingered through this digital copy. And you see that guy early on, the
Twice.
necromancer guy. And I was like, even when we saw him the first time, I was like, what's this guy all about? What's his stake in all of this?
Yeah.
There was that. And there was also, I feel like there was something else, but that alone is enough to seed it that something is going on.
And the fact that he's watched, so you see the big grinning face at the bottom of the page. The panel above it is he's watching it on a really old television with skulls
candles
nearby.
in the skulls.
And bones.
Yeah.
Skulls and bones on his entertainment system.
And you do get a few more than one page. To be strictly fair to the book, it's looking at it again. It's 3 pages when he like makes his introduction. And well, I want to be fair.
No, I was gonna say in general, like, stop speed reading. Savor. Well, I'm just saying, like plowing through. Like, there's, especially with Daniel Warren Johnson, there's so much in every panel.
Well, this is not always a possibility when one has a show at 9:05 and one needs to read the book before that. But no, that was just in my memory.
Thursday to Monday.
It was a busy weekend, man.
Every week, offline conversation.
And I'll tell you what, I did not see that coming when the mom is killed or dies.
Oh, good. You didn't either? All right.
Not at all.
Once it happened, I was like, that's so obvious. Of course that happened.
No, I mean, I thought the story was about her. You know, I mean, I wasn't, after it happened, it was like, oh, yeah, I could see that. But I thought she was the main character of the story, you know.
Oh, good. I'm glad I'm not the only one. All right, good. I felt
hey, she might still be. They're in.
That's true.
That's a good point.
Like, that's true. In the afterlife.
So,
yeah.
This is all gravy. I love this. This is great. I can't wait for it.
If it makes you feel any better, Brian, I'm sure Noel and I will make you read every issue of it, so you're not going to be stuck at issue 1.
We're into this. It'll even be a thing where if it's like issue 4 and there's nothing new to say, it'll still be on the reading list because we'll probably talk about the next one.
Definitely. And you guys, I mean, Daniel Warren Johnson is a creator whose books I will carry for more than one issue. Like,
awesome.
This was still, I think, capably executed. And
it's wonderful.
Like I said, like, this probably was the best wrestling thing I saw too. You know, it was well done. But it's done by a guy who's interested in something that I'm not as interested in, you know.
I had a wrestling phase. I don't know if we talked like real briefly in high school, because it was just what we all geeked out about. Like, I think it was like maybe junior into senior year. It was like when The Rock was actually wrestling.
Oh. Macho Man Randy Savage, was he around?
Oh no.
Well, that was in the 90s, wasn't it?
No, it was like The Rock and Stone Cold and stuff. But it was basically just. We pooled money and watched a pay-per-view and snuck beers and just cheered at the TV. It wasn't like a big deal. Yeah.
Sweet. Did you guys know Hulk Hogan has to pay a licensing fee to Marvel to use the name Hulk?
Yeah, I did not know that. You told me that a couple days ago.
Yeah, he does. Noel snuck beers.
Right.
What's the statute of limitations on that one?
Oh!
23 years. Yeah.
Oh shit! You better not go back to wherever it was that you had those beers.
God, that was a long time ago.
When I was into wrestling, it was Hulk Hogan and Junkyard Dog.
Still awesome.
Rowdy Piper.
Oh, Rowdy! Still I remember him. Who snapped into a Slim Jim? Was that Macho Man Randy Savage?
Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah.
Or
he commanded you to snap into a Slim Jim.
Nacho Man Bandy Savage.
Bonesaw.
Sandy Babbage. That's his name.
Guys, it's Bonesaw. He goes by Bonesaw.
Oh, those are the same guy.
Is ready.
Is that a Captain America villain? Bonesaw?
No, it's Crossbones.
Crossbones.
Speaking of Captain America.
Captain America, Crossbones Saw.
I segued the shit out of you.
Captain America, Sentinel of Liberty #1 from Marvel Comics, written by Jackson Lanzing and Colin Kelly, with art by Carmen Carnero. This is a top-tier Captain America book for Marvel Comics. I don't recognize a single name on this creator list. The shield isn't what you think. It's not your symbol. It's theirs. The shield is one of the most iconic images in the world. It stands for hope, justice, and the protection of the innocent. It also holds a secret, undiscovered until now, that will change the way Steve Rogers views the 20th century and how he chooses to fight in the 21st. This was also very good. I really enjoyed. There's 2 Captain America books right now. There's Sentinel of Liberty and
Symbol of Truth.
Symbol of Truth. So Sam Wilson has a book and Steve Rogers both have a book. They're both quite good. They're both off to really good starts. And this one, Nolan and I had talked about previously. More than half of it is just Steve Rogers hanging out, learning stuff, going to art classes, all sorts of fun stuff like that. Man out of time stuff.
I would totally read a whole 12 issues of Steve Rogers Community College.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Or
was
Community
really
College
charming.
Steve Rogers, yeah.
And then I had never heard of the villain who shows up in this piece, whose name I forgot. The Destroyer.
Yeah.
Except because I think there was a Robert Kirkman series.
You think correct.
Yeah.
About this same, the previous Destroyer?
Yes, it was a Max, it was a Marvel Max title, 6 issues. It was Robert Kirkman and Otley or Cory Walker. I forget which one.
Cory Walker. It wasn't Otley.
Cory Walker.
Yeah.
And it was a what if this World War II character aged in real time, and then right before he dies, he's just like, "Fuck it, I'm taking a bunch of shit down." So it was basically.
Wait, that was a what if?
Well,
I didn't realize it wasn't in continuity.
It was a Max title, so no, it's in continuities just as much as like years of Punisher have not really been in continuity, you know.
Oh.
Kind of like that. What was that one that we just read that was sort of like that? The super spy who decides to like take out the people who he's older now, and he
King of Spies.
Yes,
it wasn't unlike that. No, yeah, it was kind of the same conceit. Like I'm on my deathbed, I'm out. So JD, you mentioned all 3 of these names. We don't really know or read anything about them. Carmen Carnero is on my list forever now, forever. This art is fantastic.
The artist.
It is really good.
Yeah. This book is beautiful. Like the big crazy, like the double page spread you were just on, like the large kind of like these 2-page spreads of him like running through the well, I mean, he runs around the entirety of Manhattan in one morning at 70 miles an hour, which is funny.
Yeah, can he run at 70 miles an hour normally? He's got such a fluctuating power set, Captain America.
I mean, I
guess so.
think about it usually for as long as I read the panel.
How fast can people
I think
run?
it depends on how many bowls of Wheaties he's had.
Yeah.
Also with or without the shield.
More he's had, the slower he runs.
Yeah, with or without the shield. But then even like, this book was beautiful. Like the small moments were just as wonderful as like the action moments. I've never read anything that she's drawn, and I love this. I love this.
Yeah,
book.
it's a good looking book. What did you think, Brian?
I liked it too. I was all set to not give a single shit about it because it's Captain America, and I enjoyed it. I really liked it. As I was reading through, I liked all the like slice of life Cap moments, Steve Rogers moments. Really, it's he moves back into his old apartment, which is unlikely but cool, and taking the community college class. He's got a Spider-Man bowl for his keys, which is fun.
Yeah, I thought that was cute.
Yeah, chatting with the younger people and then go talking to an older person. I always think it's cool when Steve Rogers talks to somebody who is from the era that he's from.
Yeah.
Yes. I gave it 1 shit.
Un poop. Just
exactly. One. And it liked it.
You know what? Like comic booky of it all, though, I think this is a pretty dope mystery.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's a cool mystery.
Bucky is keeping something from him. There's something that's kind of aligned with the origin of the symbol, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like question symbols. I like just the thematic conceit, and I also like kind of where this is going. It's just, I like it. I think this is strong.
Captain America makes mention of the idea also that like his real deal is to be a presence, which is not new to Captain America, but I get the sense it's going to feature very heavily in this, and that he was created as a symbol for something, probably so that somebody could manipulate something in a bad way. That has been the case all along, kind of thing.
I look forward to the mouth breather takes about how this is anti-American and or you're making him a Nazi or some bullshit like that, like we got with the Spencer run, which again was an exercise in questioning histories, even though it was just like this big cosmic Hydra bullshit. It still was about question your history, question symbols, and I enjoy putting something as milquetoast as Steve Rogers in a moral or impossible quandary like this, because that's when characters get to shine, right? When you like, he could punch anything, but he can't change maybe what happened before him, right? I think this is the beginning of hopefully a really good series.
And his goodness is being used for bad purposes. That's a very interesting place to put him in. I'm reminded of the business plot, which I think, JD, I learned about on the old Cracked podcast, but this group of business leaders, some Bush ancestor was there, the CEO of GE, I think. Yeah. This was like the early 1900s, and Hitler was on the rise, and they thought to themselves, hey, that would be cool, right? If we ran a fascist government here, right, to benefit ourselves. And so this was like the CEO of GE and whatever, and they contacted this General Smedley, and he was like, yeah, totally, I'm on board. And then immediately notified various people in the government. And they shut it down, like real quick. But they wanted him to be the figurehead of this fascist America, geared towards their interests. And, that seems like it could have a lot to do with this story. Now, nothing ever happened. They arguably kind of just legitimized, and 2 of their descendants have become presidents, and GE is still a major corporation. So, and I say legitimized in a unique sense of that word.
There's no consequences for rich white people. It's just and if they are, they're fleeting.
And I mean, if you're in the same group of people that makes the consequences,
well, that's what I mean.
Then you decide what the consequences are.
Like the greatest or the best deterrent or antidote for consequences is just wealth. So the more wealth you have, the more you can make them go away. It's
that does seem
so if you're talking about like Illuminati level members of the 1%, like I mean,
remaining in the 1% for generations. If only we gave out our resources in a different way.
I wish I was in the 1%, you guys.
It would be pretty sweet.
Oh, I'd abandon you all in a heart. No.
Oh yeah. Mid podcast.
That's the primary reason JD wants to be in the 1%.
Yeah, he's like, I wish I was in the 1%, guys. So I didn't have to deal with either of you or any of this.
But you're locked in for now.
Robert Monroe says, sorry guys, gotta go. Watching the Who Killed Vincent Chin documentary on PBS's POV. Definitely worth a watch if you don't know about Vincent Chin. I do not know about Vincent Chin.
I don't think I've ever heard about Vincent Chin.
So Robert Monroe Jr., I think by next week, I would very much appreciate about 500 words on not only a review of the documentary, but who the fuck is Vincent Chin?
Yeah.
I could look it up, but I'd much rather be orated by you.
I think that is one thing that we've lost in the ability to look things up so easily, which I love, is that it was also fun to ask people things. And there's just not a reason to anymore. Yeah.
I still, if there's like a chat going on, or if there's like Facebook comments or whatever, I will ask someone a question that I can literally just Google in a second, because I'm trying to engage them in conversation. I'm trying to have a back and forth. And sometimes it works. And sometimes they're like, they send me the link. Let me Google that for you. And I'm like, all right, dickhead. I was trying to show my interest in what you're talking about. I'll go fuck myself now. Carlos is back.
Hey, Carlos.
Hey.
How's it going?
I enjoy the midday random texts or messages about like just questions.
Yeah.
About comics or movies. Like you sent me one earlier today. Like you sent me one earlier today. Like X-Men reading order, huh? I'm like, oh, it oddly
I know you were reading it.
It oddly validates all the time I spent on things that don't truly matter, but
you're welcome.
Are fun. Thanks.
Carl says, currently doing residential tenancy training whilst I listen to you, gentlemen.
Fantastic.
What's
I don't
residential?
Know what that is.
What's tenancy?
Training to
tenancy.
Be a permanent resident of a country is my guess. But Carlos, please fill us in.
Yeah, well, he's in Australia.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
From Australia.
No, Tasmania.
Seven Sons #1 from Image Comics. Written by Robert Wyndham and Kelvin Mao with art by Jay Lee. Delph, a young man. I've been called a Delph, which is nice.
Who called you that?
Really nice.
Someone by your wife?
Once. No,
that's cool.
Not my wife.
Well, you're more of a didiff, presumably. Hopefully.
What's a didiff?
Like a
that I didn't like to fuck.
A that I do fuck.
Oh, I do fuck.
That's my assumption. I don't know what happens.
Delph, a young man who may be the second coming of Christ, runs for his life as he attempts to learn the truth behind his existence. So, this was a very interesting book. I didn't know much about it other than Jay Lee was actually doing interiors, which is delightful because I do like me some Jay Lee. I remember I've been sort of a fan of his since he started with Namor back in the 90s. He did like this really ripped, crazy Namor comic book. He also did like Hellshock and stuff like that.
I think he did Inhumans too, right? Didn't he do like
Inhumans?
Jenkins?
Yeah, that was a good run.
Yeah, I heard that was great.
Yeah.
And first thing I noticed, 7 Sons, this type treatment is wonderful. The 7 with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/12. I don't know what that's called. What is that called?
7 Sons.
Oh, they're hash marks.
Hash marks. The hash marks on the logo is just chef's kiss. And it took me a couple of minutes. It took me a couple minutes to figure out what this book was about. But once I got to the end of it, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't know if I care about the series as a whole, but reading the first issue was interesting enough. And I really do enjoy Jay Lee's artwork. But I just don't know if this is my type of story. I don't know if I care about the second coming of Christ. There was a guy who had prophesied that the Christ was returning and no one believed him. But then on one day, 12? How many women? How many virgins gave birth?
7.
7. There it is. 7. It's right there in the title. God, don't. I'm ADHD. Shut up.
Are you asking me this question? You could look it up.
I just really wanted to engage you in conversation. I could have Googled it, but I really wanted to talk to you. Yeah. 7 women who are virgins supposedly gave birth on the same day, and now they're all sort of brothers, and they've been held together by this belief that one of them is the second coming of Christ. And I think by the time we get to the end here, I don't think that any of those 7 were, but maybe this 8th character is. Although the ending is a little confusing. I can't tell if he's supposed to be floating or standing on something, but I couldn't understand why everyone was worshiping him.
Wait, I thought that was so. Okay, this book jumped in time twice.
Yes, that was a little confusing.
So in 1995, Delph was stabbed through the throat and then buried. On the day that it was prophesied the one remaining would rise, he wakes the fuck up.
Wait a minute.
Severely dehydrated. And in this, so this is that dude is the actual chosen one that died 3 years earlier, and the one that is, left. I'm assuming there's just some sort of like machinations, or maybe all the brothers, one of the brothers killed the others, or there's like, I'm not interested so much in the Judeo-Christian Jesus Christ bit of it, but the idea of these megachurch corporations stacking the deck and trying to pick their own Messiah, I do think is actually pretty interesting. So I think that it's this dude, and then they bury him, and then 3 years later he wakes up on the day that the one true one was supposed to.
I 100% did not get that. I thought all of these different brothers had been killed by one way or other, except for the remaining one. And this was just an 8th character. I did not realize, because I don't think this guy's ever given a name. Delph, the guy who we follow around.
Not until he doesn't say anything, because he's been in the ground for 3 years, and then he's drinking something, he faints, he sees that, and then he just like wakes up. I think it's this. I was waiting for some sort of like giant scar on his neck or something, but I do think it's the risen brother, and I do think that there is some sort of nefarious way that all the other 6 got murdered or killed or set aside. And this is the one that rose, because this is the real second coming.
Gotcha.
That's my interpretation so far. I think it's mildly fascinating, or no, it's more than that. I think it's interesting. The idea of how would modern society and technology deal with this kind of shit, I think is fun. I mean, fun in a terrible
like you wouldn't want to experience it yourself.
Oh, fuck no.
Right.
But I do think, like, I watch documentaries about fucked up mega churches and cults all the time. This is great. This is this is funny. I like this.
What'd you think, Brian?
I enjoyed it. I thought. Did you guys see? There was a movie and a TV show. I only saw the show. What was it called? With what's his name that plays the Vision? Paul Bettany as like an angel that is after humanity, like slaughtering humanity. I forget what the name of it is. It was a very dark.
Yeah. Legion. Yeah, that was the diner.
Yeah. So
that was cool.
I never saw the movie. The TV show picked up like years later with, I think the child was grown.
No kidding.
The child that leads the movie. Yeah. The guy that played Giles from Buffy was in it as a very different and much darker character. But it had a similar sort of aesthetic as this comic that is this like highly stylized. This comic is particularly kind of an uncomfortable visual as you go through it, which I think very much suits the story that they're telling. I also did not get that was the guy that, was killed, Noel, but I think you're 100% correct about that. I think he's definitely that dude. And there's probably something nefarious going on. I don't know if it's this guy or what, but again, now that you mention it, them picking their own Messiah is, or trying to, is probably
look how
what they're up to.
This panel alone, look how they've monetized, advertised, and so like they spent the last 20 years building this shrine to people that weren't even born yet. This is wild, and it does very much feel like a pretty good takedown of certain establishments and structures.
An analysis of the corruption in the name of, or fakely in the name of good, I think is a very interesting story to tell, especially when it involves actual divinity or supernatural powers. The
perspective of this book I find fascinating, where it's not undermining or diminishing the fact that like deity does exist and this is actually like a real prophecy. It's more about taking to piss the idea of how we've corrupted anything that could have been
Right.
good from it. And I think that that's really fascinating.
Yeah, like the people who say that they're good are exactly the thing that the person they're pretending to favor would be against, you know?
Yeah.
And it, yeah, it's very interesting. My mom was very briefly worked at a mega church decades and decades ago that Colonel Sanders attended. And she said...
That's where he got all the 31 flavor or 31 spices. And
yeah. We got 30 of them there, and then the last one... No, 11.
Is it 33? 11? It's 11
I think it's
total?
11 herbs and spices, I believe.
You're probably right.
So what happens?
I'm mixing up the...
She, unrelated to Colonel Sanders' attendance, she was disgusted by the, like, corruption of this megachurch and quickly did not work there anymore.
It is right on the forefront. That's the thing that I don't understand. Like, it's all about give us all of your money. And I just don't understand how anyone is like, oh, that's, yeah, that sounds good.
It's why is anybody join a cult? Why, like, most people are born into it. Most people are lost and are preyed upon. Like, it's just, it's why is no longer a question I ask so much as like, how? Oh, wow. Okay.
I think
how it works.
The dual pressures of, like, they are being told and convinced that they are giving their money to a good cause that will help people. And if they see a lot of opulence by the person that they're directly giving it to, then that person deserves it. They're a servant of good. And then the other side being whatever the appeal of self-flagellation is, right? If doing something good is good, it seems even better if it hurts you, right? And it's kind of a perversion of the idea of, like, it's good to do something even if it inconveniences you or hurts you. That doesn't mean that it's better if it hurts you.
Yeah, because you've suffered for something, it's almost more worthy.
Right. Or you were willing to go even this far, right? Which is like, but wouldn't it be better if you didn't nobody hurt, you know?
Yeah.
Well, if you guys out there want to help our cult pop, you can go to patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo and help us out by giving us monies. Oh, he took it away. There it is. Patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo. You can help us out if that's a thing that you want to do. If you don't want to do that because you don't have any money, beat up your grandmother and take her money. She's probably got like a little purse, like a change purse.
Should they ask her first, or just go
straight to violence?
Straight to the bludgeon.
You don't want to put her on her guard.
That's right.
By asking.
Yeah.
I'd rather ask forgiveness later while she's concussed.
Yeah.
Versus permission.
It's better to ask for forgiveness for bludgeoning your grandmother than to ask for permission to bludgeon your grandmother. That's the old saying.
Full saying. It's one of those sayings.
It's always truncated.
Yeah.
Or if you don't want to give us money, just, like, comment, subscribe, give us a nice review on iTunes. Tell your grandmother that you'll bludgeon her if she doesn't tune in.
Get it, Grandma.
A Calculated Man #1 from Aftershocks Comics, written by Paul Tobin, with art by Alberto Jimenez Albuquerque. A verifiable math genius, Jack Beans, used to run the numbers for the Pinafore crime family until one day he ran them too well and concluded that the only way out of this life was in a casket or witness protection. So he turned to state's evidence and ran. Now the Pinafores are out to end their favorite accountant. Little do they know that Jack's skills with math and his perfect memory have made him a better killer than they could ever have realized. What follows is a journey full of murder, mayhem, and mathematics. This was really pretty good. I was not interested in this. I didn't know what it was going to be about. When I opened it up and saw the artwork, again, I was not impressed by the art very much. But then the story I found delightful. I wish his name wasn't Jack Beans.
I don't think that's his real name.
Well, it's not his like birth name. It's his just like moniker.
But the character story in the
About the last page, I was like, "Oh, bean counter."
Bean counter, yeah.
That's why his name is Beans.
He knows. He does know Jack about beans.
He knows them.
But the rest of this book was really fun. Yeah, the art wasn't my favorite, but the story itself was delightful. I really enjoyed it. What did you think? No.
Same. I think this was like so I read this. I read this because I was just interested in something new, and I opened it up and immediately kind of cringed. I really didn't enjoy the arts. Like that first panel of his giant fucking head. I was like, I'm not sure what they're going for, like style wise. Like this is our air quotes like hero or anti-hero, and he's a very awkward looking depiction.
He looks absurd.
Yeah, pretty much. And the book's not really very absurd.
Yeah.
But then as I was reading it, it's just this feels like 75% a really good book.
Yeah.
Because the plot is really fun. His kind of like skill set is really scary, but also entertaining. And the sociopathic way that he kind of goes about protecting himself is, I was rooting for him. And then when it gets fucked up, it's like, oh, that's really uncomfortable. Like, but like in a good way. So I this was really strong despite not loving the art. Yeah,
agreed. Brian,
now, I had a similar, a very similar track to what you guys had, but not about the art, but about the words that the people say in the beginning and the character expository or like very cookie cutter things that, like Agent 1 and Agent 2 are like agent line, agent line, agent line. And then you move on to the next thing. And I was like, oh man. But then Jack Beans is a delightful character. I love a good...
Hold on. I want to counter that agent line, agent line, agent line with this panel where in the middle of them saying agent lines to each other, he sees a flyer that says, check out my cat. Do you like my cat? And then the little pull tabs all say yes.
I have a theory about this because that entire interaction, the whole book was really messing with me because it's very inorganic or rehearsed. I think that Jack has trained his handler in like a hypnosis type of way.
That's intriguing.
He makes him kind of go to the same place at the same day, and the same time. They've been doing it for years. He's got like a rhythm. I think that it's manufactured because everything he does is he manufactures everything around him. So as I got to the end of the book, I'm like, it's like this dude, like the main, his handler. It's like this dude is sleepwalking.
Yeah.
Practicing
and spending
things.
more time with him than his wife. And to his wife's dismay.
And they're like having beers
together and
like it all started adding up. And then I remembered that stupid movie, Now You See Me, or Now You Don't, like Now You See Me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where it's magicians and hypnotists and stuff. And I remember there's like a subplot of like learning how to program people with taps and clicks and certain things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I would be so dope if like 2 issues from now we realized that Jack actually programmed this dude because it's just so oddly inorganic and practiced. I'm really hoping for that.
That would be really cool. And it seems like the kind of thing that is within Jack's abilities. I'll tell you, I just breezed right by that sign and didn't, I just saw it as like lost cat. That's weird that he's taking it and just kept going. Yeah. That is very funny. It's check out my cat.
Check out my cat. Do you like my cat?
If you like it. It's not even a number.
Yeah. And he just waits until the things are all gone. I also did, the scene said in the past where it's pointing out all the things that Jack notices in one shot. I guess I didn't read the upper right one where it says feral pigeons, which I like that distinction. I guess there are a lot of trained pigeons, but I tend to think of them as like mostly feral,
Yeah.
But yeah, I love a good character who can do the kind of things that he does, like through his mental acuity can have an angle on everything that's happening in the world and control everything that's happening, or at least like be aware of it, and that gives him some level of greater ability. It's the kind of thing that's essentially a superpower, but it doesn't have to be classified as a superpower. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's maybe something that somebody could do, and maybe we could have superpowers. But this is a little more likely. So, yeah, by the end of it, I found I agree with what Noel said. It's like 75% good. There's stuff in here that I'm like, ugh. But the main guy and how he goes about his business is pretty interesting. And so I'd recommend it if this kind of stuff sounded interesting to you.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to DC Pride, the Tim Drake special #1 from DC Comics, written by Megan Fitzmartin with art by Balin Ortega and Alberto Jimenez Albuquerque. Oh, really? Oh,
same artist.
What?
Yeah. The end.
Wow.
So,
Huh. The breakout story from Batman Urban Legends, collected in one volume for the very first time in time for Pride Month. Tim Drake's search for a missing friend kidnapped by the villains known as Chaos Masters leads Tim to realize his identity as a bisexual man. This was cute. I did not read them in the backs of the, or not backs, but in the Batman Urban Legend series. So I kind of wanted to check out what Tim's up to, because he's one of my favorite Robums. And this was really cute. Who was it? Earlier, it was Todd Engel who said that he kind of wanted Pride issues that weren't all about relationships. And I think this is a perfect example of
sure.
What we want. Which is more story, but then, hey, he also just happens to be interested in this fella. And I also like that we're also dealing with the breakup that he had with, spoiler, Stephanie. So he was seeing Stephanie for a long time. It's like his main love interest for a very long time. And they've broken up, and now he's seeing this new guy. And I just thought it was really a lot of fun. It was really cute. What did he draw? Because
the back half of it,
Balin Ortega was great, but then there was definitely a switch where I went, "Oh, this is not as good."
The Christmas story thing.
Here it is. Yeah, you're right. It's not. I don't think it's as bad here, though. I think I liked his work here better than in Calculated Man.
It's definitely a different style of art, and if a story started out that way, it wouldn't jar me or anything. But in this story, where the first half of it was in more traditional comic art, I was like,
nice.
What just happened?
Yeah. This Ortega,
it's really
wonderful.
Good. Yeah.
Really delightful. I really liked the first half of this book. What did you think, Brian?
I really liked it too. I read only the first half of this book, and a little bit of the later stuff, but it was really good. I enjoyed it as a Tim Drake Robin story, which is something that I haven't read in quite some time, for one. And his slightly updated costume is pretty cool too. Yeah. But yeah, with what you were saying in reply to Todd Engel's comment, yeah, this is a Robin story where, sort of a la Spider-Man, he's out on a date. The date becomes part of the thing that he's dealing with, but is not the primary focus of his journey in this story. And even his understanding his bisexuality is a major through line and a really important thing that happens in this story. But there's even other character stuff that's happening. Like, he's trying to be Batman. He doesn't know what's going on with him. He doesn't know what he wants. And a lot of that is answered by his bisexual revelatory understanding of himself. But even in addition to all of that, there's a really cool Gotham hero story going on where some cult is up to some stuff. He figures it out. He infiltrates in a cool way. It's very well done. And I did think it was a little odd that Tim Drake has put together the computer that they all use. Seems like more of an Oracle thing, but maybe they've been amping up his programming credentials in the years since I've seen him, really in the fore. Can we also go to around page 19, where Tim Drake says to himself, Dionysus, what was the hell kind of horror show was going on, Bernard? It's certainly an unusual piece of dialogue.
Where is it?
It's page 19 of our digital copy, where he's going into the car where he meets this detective. It's significantly earlier than this.
Oh, it is. Okay.
There was a couple of, in like that third chapter, there was a couple of like weird transitions to like he was. It was intercutting him infiltrating the group with.
Oh, that makes sense.
Springing the way that they rolled into it though, like where he's standing on the roof and then he does and doesn't have a costume, and
that confused me.
That was a little confusing.
They treat it with like different color schemes after that, which is fine. But I literally went back and was just like, what?
Yeah, I didn't understand why his costume kept.
It was the same setting with very little preamble to the idea that we were jumping back and forth in time, and
there was a really weird kind of like shortcut that I.
What he was saying as Robin seemed to take place at this, like it reflected what was happening to him as he was not in his Robin outfit, chained up there, which was weird. And this turn of phrase, which is obviously accidental. This is a reprint. Like, did nobody? Nobody
this
caught
makes sense. No, this makes sense. Dionysus, what the hell kind of horror show was going on, Bernard?
But that's not what he says. He says,
what are you talking about?
What was the hell kind of horror show was going on, Bernard?
I didn't
There's like
catch it.
3
I read
words
it
out of play. Yeah. But even there's 2 was-is and it's just like 2 different phrases that they changed their mind and didn't erase the other part of it.
Yeah, it should be what the hell kind of horror show was going on. Yeah. Oops.
I had
accidentally had an extra was.
I had read this the first 3 chapters of it when it was in Batman Urban Legends, was it?
Yeah.
Because this was like the whole rage that they were doing this with Tim, the character, and I was like, oh, I'll read it. But I didn't reread that, but I did read the back half that I'd never read, and at first I was like, because it was super rough. Essentially the little like couple of pages that I guess took place during Fear State, because it was like the Peacekeeper and shit. Fear State, yeah. But then that little closer at the end was like, oh, this is really solid. I like this. Yeah, I mean, this was slick. It was solid. I at the time I sympathized with some fans who didn't feel like it was organic, but I think that they didn't read this, or
rarely do.
They wouldn't allow. No, so like characters. I'm trying to be fair. Even there are people that are just pieces of shit, and that's great. But like, we know these characters for like 30 something years, right? And multiple creative teams touch these characters. So I sympathize with the idea of you identifying with like one version of the character, but those don't always stay the same, right? Like Chuck Dixon was writing Tim in a very specific way, and then Judd Winnick writes Tim in a very specific way. Like, and if you listen to Judd, he's like, well, I always kind of was, doing the gay vibes with him and Connor. I was like, so if that's what you grew up with, this transition or this kind of realization of the character who's fictional feels valid. Whereas if you're like a 40-year-old who's never read anything other than the Chuck Dixon run, you're just like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Why would he change so swiftly? And it's like, it's been 30 fucking years. Like, it's not a swift change. It's just you stop reading
all the time in comics.
That's just it. Like I sympathize with the idea of like, having an impersonation in your head, but like to be so militantly against it without exploring the story. Read this. This was actually really strong. He's going through it in his own head in real time during the course of the story, which is a normal Batman style story. So like, this was solid.
The programming analogy too. They're like, corrupted program, doesn't, that kind of, or like it's not running the way it should kind of deal.
There were two things I thought were a little weak about this book. There's this scene here up on screen where Stephanie falls into this, I don't know, pit of some sort, hole in the floor. And she goes, the disc, the elephant's running away. You gotta let me go. Why? Why do you have to, like, it reads almost like if something, like if a bomb is about to go off, I get it. Oh, you gotta let me go. You gotta let me fall to my death or possible cripplement. To go stop whatever's happening. But it's like, it's just a ghost elephant. You don't need this. You don't need to. It's just a ghost elephant. Who amongst us has not fought a ghost elephant?
Don't die.
And let them go.
Yeah, you don't need to. Yeah, let me
die for this
plunge
one.
to my death. Don't worry about it. Like, that was a weird scene. I would be like, no, hoist me up real quick. Let's go get that ghost elephant.
What's the other thing?
The other end, the couple pages later, is they meet at this coffee shop, and they're talking, they're walking, and they're talking, and they're kind of getting everything out about their relationship, which is very at the forefront of both of them, right? So Stephanie's feeling some emotions, Tim's feeling some emotions, and they're finally getting to the end of it. They're like, yeah, all right, we're back where we need to be. Awesome. Hey, here's a surprise. It's my new boyfriend. You want to meet him immediately after having this conversation about our long-term relationship? Let's go see who I'm fucking now. And it's just, in real life, that would be a really insensitive thing. Be like, oh, are we cool now? Great. Come in and meet my new person. I was like, whoa, that just seemed a little weird.
Yeah, overall, I think the timing of all of this was really weird and janky because publishing-wise, they were very much like planning their future in Bendis's Young Justice book. And then they both disappeared for a little while, and it was this. So they concluded their relationship off panel completely. And the way that this is kind of timed out, it was just the Stephanie Brown of it all is what I would like. That's drama. Like, that's juicy drama with lots of good conversations, right? Or at least fascinating conversations.
Yeah.
And the downside of this book, it doesn't explore them until the very end, and it's very quick.
That might be what people were talking about. If like the last time you saw Tim, he was in a relationship with his longtime love interest.
Yes, the fair, and that's what I was trying to say before. Like the fair interpretation of people that had a problem with this kind of evolution of the character is that it felt abrupt because publishing wise, the last thing they read was like, am I going to go to college or stay with the girlfriend that I want to be with for the rest of my life? And then it's something different.
Neither one.
This fictional character, neither one. This fictional character exists in their own, their own space in real time or whatever the sliding scale they want to be. But for readers, it could have been jarring, sure. But I feel like as soon as you get past that part, it's great.
Now, I think also there is a tendency that a lot of people read these and they identify in the sense that, they'd like to be in these circumstances. And when a character changes away from something that they, the reader, are, especially when it's a change, they're not introduced as that can make the reader feel like, oh, I'm one step farther away from the fantasy life that I would like to lead, right? And whether or not these people handle that feeling well is a different story. But I think that sometimes is where these people are coming from, whether they know it or not.
I would say I would hope that everyone that feels that way, or at least has a knee-jerk reaction that is negative, explores that as to why they would now feel further away from somebody who just doesn't have the same sexual orientation.
I think it's any difference, right? I think
that's what I mean. Like if you have such a parasocial relationship with a fictional character to the point when they express something that's different than what you personally believe, to react to that with animosity is something that should be examined just as someone that, like, just as your fight or flight response to fictional changes, right? It's something that you should probably examine. Like if you become like truly aggravated if somebody thinks that you're gay and you're not, or vice versa, or that some, like, then that's something you should explore, because it's should not be a normal response, even though we can empathize and sympathize with it in certain aspects, you know. So like I've had knee-jerk reactions where it's just like, oh, I didn't think that he was gay. That's okay. I mean, all right. Like, it recontextualizes the character, but I don't think it should ever be animosity, right?
Yeah, when people are so upset about Tim Drake, they're like, oh, they changed him. And I'm like, I don't think, he doesn't feel any different to me. He still feels like Tim Drake. It doesn't feel like this new version of a character. It's just, okay, he's a little bit more open sexually now. Great, good for him.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. I think that's the change, is they're saying he is slightly more away from me than he used to be, right? I am slightly more away from him than I used to be. It's not as easy for me to project myself onto this character as it once was.
See, I don't have that problem. I don't know why.
I mean, that's wonderful. You know, but I think that's where a lot of these people are coming from.
I also, you know what, I also don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's a problem to identify with fictional characters. Like, what we learn about things is through, a lot of times we'll learn very important things through narrative, right? Through stories. I do think that it's mildly unhealthy and or toxic to respond or react to shifts in the wind with derision or animosity, right? So like, I could be like, oh, he doesn't represent me anymore. That's okay. Okay. I mean, he's still Tim Drake and he's still doing dope ass Batman shit. So here we are. You know what I mean? Like, this is a perfect example. This book is a perfect example of nothing about Tim actually changed.
Yeah.
So that's why I think this is a better example of stuff like that than the next book we're going to talk about. To me, that I didn't find Hulkling and Wiccan very fun.
That's what I was gonna say.
Sorry.
No, it's my fault. Tim. Oh, when it comes to people. Brian, you were talking about how people are like, they see a character, and now that this character is more open sexually, then that's one more thing that separates me from this character. But I'm able to find something to relate to with most characters, no matter, like, if they're an alien, if they're a straight white guy, if they're a black woman character,
even a straight white guy,
even a straight white guy, yeah.
Well, I mean, he's got that lighting now.
Yeah,
like they're all fictional characters, and they're all written by humans, and so I am therefore able to engage many facets of my human nature to relate to the human condition. And I guess I don't know. It's I guess that's all I have to say about it. I don't really know what else to add to that.
I think people should be able to find something to relate to, even if some of the trappings are different than they're used to. Yeah,
I don't know.
I think this thesis that I'm talking about is specifically applied to a change in a character, right?
Sure.
It does not apply to the introduction of a new character or like somebody who was always whatever thing there are. There are a number of things, not just sexuality, but that have been changed in comics, much to the chagrin of many people, but that are, either race or gender or different things that different characters have come to the fore, like...
so like Bobby Drake, Alan Scott, who else? And like
Tim Drake.
Two Drake.
Bobby.
Look at that.
Bobby Drake.
A Drake in each Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it, right?
There's got to be more.
I don't know. There probably are more. I can't. Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. Although that was a much longer process.
I was gonna say, like, that happened super organically, like over the course of many years of like winky nods. Actually, like, I think so did in a lot of ways so did Bobby Drake too.
Yeah. Oh, like, Jonathan Kent
Peter
also.
Well, Jonathan Kent was aged up. Like, he
doesn't count.
Yeah.
Wait, why doesn't Jonathan Kent count?
Because he just hit puberty.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like It's not like when he was 12 years old, he was a straight or gay or any kind of character. He was just a kid.
Yeah, he went from 10 to 18 off panel, so we don't know what his development was like. So it's less of like I enjoyed so many teenager adventures with him as a straight white guy, and now he's, you know what I mean? Like, it was all of that development happened completely off.
Yeah, he was a
So
sexless.
it feels like he's a new character.
Sexless early teenager, you know.
Well, but I think he would still be counted in the the DC, like, look, we're doing these things with these characters, and also for just his association with Superman. You know what I mean? I think there's an element of like, we are making a change to a character in a positive way, but I mean, I would still see it as, and also for better or worse, probably worse, most people are assumed to be straight, especially fictional, until you are informed otherwise.
That's true. Yeah. And also, it's like, I don't know, having currently reading all of this shit, John, even though like what you broke down is true, John feels a little bit more like an outlier, only because we knew very little about him as an adult. So even though he does like check all the boxes of these characters that are, you know, like a part of this representation initiative and or just are different than what we presumed, he feels I don't think it's a 1-for-1 with like Tim, whereas there's, you know, decades worth of Tim stories, so it feels probably more jarring, whereas John is just, and all of the headline, like the salacious headlines of like Superman's gay now, like it's his son, he's bi, you're an idiot, read the comic.
Now I wonder if they will have by they, I mean the capital T, everyone that makes media, will have a character who is bi with somebody of the gender that they would be with if they were straight, right? Because that's a much more difficult character to write. Where
JD was mentioning like let's do a love triangle between
that'd be awesome
with multiple genders, right? Like let's just whatever. Let's have a somebody that's bi date someone that's trans. Like it.
Yeah, I'd also like see some poly characters. Why not? I got a bunch of poly friends.
Yeah.
I think that'll be harder on a page. Than
I mean,
sexual orientation.
We're kind of getting it. We're kind of getting it with the throuple, right? From Jean, Wolverine, and Scott.
Yeah.
Oh, that's been so off panel. It's not even funny.
Very off panel.
But it's there, baby.
It's true. Yeah.
We saw the schematics of their bedrooms and how they all connect.
And there was like, if you read all of the Hickman stuff, there was a Speedo joke between Slim and Wolverine. Yeah,
and there's scenes with Jean sort of like cuddling up to Scott, and then there'll be another comic where she's cuddling up to Wolvie. Yeah, I'm counting it.
I mean, when you've mastered immortality, you might as well just like have all the
shed all
the sex with all the people.
Society's reasons to not do whatever you want.
Well, let's move on.
Is the place to be.
To what?
To Hulkling and Wiccan #1 from Marvel Comics by Josh Trujillo and Jody Nishijima. Hulkling and Wiccan have found their happy ending at last. Oh, jeez. Have found their happy ending at last, or have they? When a magical artifact shows them the paths not taken in life and love, will Billy and Teddy find their way back to each other? Will they even want to?
What?
I don't know. I didn't read it. I don't have an answer to this question. I'm going to rely on you, Noel and Brian, to tell me.
So they do want to, and they do.
They want to be together. Yeah. I just became like self-aware that I've been shitting on this book almost the whole podcast. There's nothing wrong with this book.
It is.
It is very twee. It's very sentimental, and
you keep saying that.
Twee. It's one of my new favorite kind of things. It means sentimental, cute, slight, kitty, cutie, twee.
Oh.
Yeah. But that's really what this is. Like it's a rom-com trope of like seeing sliding doors and alternate life, what it would be like if you weren't with your spouse, because I
don't like this art.
And it's just
I don't like this art.
It's very digital first art.
I mean, it is. This was a digital first.
Yeah.
The stakes of the story are so small that it's like cool. If these are your favorite characters and you're 13, this book is dope. If you want to explore anything other than surface level and hijinks, this book is boring.
That's a little reductive. I wouldn't put an age on it.
Oh no, I mean, like if you're just a fan of these characters and you're younger and you don't want anything a little meatier.
Yeah, it's sort of like, you know, when people ship characters. This is that sort of like, I ship these two characters, and this is the two of them on it, sort of like exploring their relationship a little bit.
And I love a good low stake story in comics where nothing dire happens. They're usually much shorter than regular stories, but those can be fun. You know, the ones where people are hanging out in between bigger things or whatever.
Playing baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
Giving each other happy endings.
Love the baseball issues.
Like during, I love those too. I prefer the ones, they do it less often, but I love to see them use their powers in those kinds of events, you know? Yeah. And of course, use their powers with the happy endings as well is always nice.
Oh yeah, like a magical hand job. Yeah, no,
like a magical hand job. Exactly.
I want a magical hand job. That sounds awesome.
It's one of my favorite kinds.
So does Teddy. Yeah.
I want a magical hand
job. I would imagine that
Unless the magic is like spike palms. Like, I don't, maybe not that.
Yeah, you want a magical pleasurable hand job.
I said Teddy, not Billy. Like if that's something that Billy likes.
Yeah.
I'm not going to king shame Billy.
Put spikes into his hands while like, hey, whatever.
But that's not my thing.
No, it's not my thing at all. This was it's just a cutesy. You're right. It does feel like I mean, is that a thing we use to describe now? Digital first. It feels very.
Well, I think this actually was a digital first.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I know. But there's a feeling to it that it is digital first, where it's like, we can't do anything like actually earth shattering or different with these characters. We only have 5 pages each. So it no matter what, it feels weightless.
Yeah.
And I feel
even
like
the good ones are interstitial stories that just
there you
feature
go.
the character. And
it feels like a story that adds up to very little.
Yeah. Which can sometimes be awesome. I think another quality that is very apparent in this one is the perception of the passage of time in the story that doesn't feel like it when you're reading it as a single issue. Just like by the end of it, they're like, we've been through so much. And I was like, that wasn't that much. That was like one day. And you're like, no, I'm actually going to go back to my real person that I'm with.
When they reprint these digital first, I don't know how many actual chapters this was digitally, but how is it possible for it to feel fast and slow at the same time?
Right.
Like it's 6 or 7 page sprints, and then it's boring, and then like it's weird. It's like fast and slow at the same time. Now I would read an entire issue, all 60 pages, however long this was, of just their dinner party with North Star, his husband, and Bobby Drake, who brought pie.
Yeah.
To me,
and
that is like probably
who Billy changes the clothes of, which is like an interesting magic party thing to do. Like when your guests show up, you put them in party appropriate outfits.
Oh, that's funny.
I think that seemed like if I don't know. I guess I'm just more of like a character first person. Like I would have rather seen this young newlywed couple through the prism of a bachelor, a perpetual bachelor like Bobby Drake, and then a successfully married older couple. Yeah. Like I would explore that, and that would have been really cool because I am not familiar with many same-sex relationships, long-term ones, right? Like we don't get that a lot in comics. So like talk through it, but then it just kind of turned into this alternate life body swap hijinks, and I was like, all right, that's fine.
That's the thing. They set up in the dinner party like, oh, you guys never fight, and it's all very on the nose too, because it has to be delivered so quickly in whatever page installments it is. But they're like, you guys never fight, and then they have a disagreement about a very big issue, and then they're like, whoa, and the married couple looks at each other and they're like, you'll figure it out. And then that is the theme of this whole thing, wherein they are presented with like people who they could be with that would fulfill each of their separate desires. And there was not a lot of the like, I have to give up everything I've ever wanted, everything I thought I ever wanted to be with the person I love. It was just very quick. Like, you get all of this in New York, you get all of this in space. Oh no, now I remember the real deal. And then they get back together.
Well, at the end here, it looks like Billy is not particularly, he's like, Hulkling is asleep and he is laying awake thinking about whatever happened in the issue, and he does not look very happy anymore. Does this look like it's sowing the seeds of like marital
it's possible. I mean, I'm sure, and they might have been told, whoever was writing this, like, hey, we're going to be dealing with Billy wants to spend more time on Earth. Hulkling is enjoying and also feeling responsible out in space, and that's going to be a thing that is tension between them coming up. So if you want to tell a story about that, go for it. Because he does look a little wistful at best. And it's kind of weird too that on that page you see the medium shots and then close-ups of both of their other love interests.
I went backwards. I was like, oh wait, is Teddy also having these thoughts? No, that's just Billy thinking of both. Yeah.
Right. He's like, and I wonder what Teddy experienced at that time. So
I feel bad for these cats who are like had an experience and then had to forget it, I guess.
Oh, are those real people? You think those are real people?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were completely fabricated and or they also had like really weird out of body experiences and then
like what the hell was that?
Snapshotted back and didn't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't learn anything from that. Was that to teach somebody else a lesson?
The book was, like I said, the book was like super fast and then super slow and then super fast and super slow. Yeah.
It was.
I placed the definition of twee at the bottom there.
Oh, very good.
Adjective,
British. Is that right?
Excessively or effectively quaint, pretty, or sentimental. Although the film's a bit twee, it's watchable. So like cutesy.
Indeed. Yeah.
I'm sorry, where did you put this?
It's scrolling at the bottom of the
screen. There we go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
Let's go. Now, can I take this moment also in the spirit of pride and a Star Trek Doctor Who thing? Now, I don't want to spoil the most recent Strange New Worlds if people haven't seen it, but I can address that. Okay. This still applies. So on Doctor Who recently, there was announced that there is a trans actor playing a character on Doctor Who, and very little of that stuff. It's still a ways in the future, so very little has been released, and it is assumed that the character is also trans. But that's not known for sure. And a friend of mine and I, a friend of the show, Rob Palecchio, who has seen and commented many times, we're talking and wondering, when will the first time be that a trans actor is playing a character that is the gender that they present and the character is not trans, right? Because that would be, I think, an important milestone as well, right? That's what acting is, and why should they not play a character that is female if they're female presenting, right? So then, just the next episode of Strange New Worlds that I watched had a trans actor playing a character who is female presenting and is uses they them pronouns, but is definitely not identified as trans. There is every indication on that show that they are biologically female, whatever the appropriate term for that is. And I think that's pretty cool. I had no idea that they were trans until I forget how I found it. I think I was just looking them up on IMDb or something like that. Because that episode was also very good. I highly recommend it. And
I'm one behind. So the last one we watched was the very upsetting Magellan one.
Yeah.
How many episodes are there? We've watched one.
7.
You've watched 1. There are 7 so far. The next 6, also very good. And
yeah,
then there's just
Captain
a few
Pike's
more.
hair keeps getting taller, and the show gets better the taller his hair gets.
You know what they refer to it as, apparently? I think it's
Pike's
the other
Peak.
cast members, Pike's Peak. Yeah.
Pike's Peak.
He's got straight up Johnny Bravo hair, and it's fantastic.
Which is right up there with the Picard maneuver that Patrick Stewart's cast members would refer to when he tugged his shirt down as he sits down. Yeah. Because the Picard maneuver in universe is also like something that Jean-Luc Picard did a long time ago.
Is there some? Do they have is there a reference to Riker always stepping over a chair to sit in it?
No, I've seen a supercut of that, but apparently that was because of his back.
Well, he was super tall, and like all the set shit was like really low.
And I'll tell you what, a lot of that is spin, right? If you see a video that's like he sits down like a crazy person, but then if you look at it another way, it's like, what an awesome way to sit down in a chair.
Yeah, I was gonna say like,
cool.
You're a fucking boss. Like,
man, swing that leg over, sit down. Yeah. So Star Trek, awesome.
It's very good. We gotta
thing that it did. Awesome show, and
we're watching Outer Range.
Oh, I've heard that's good.
It is. With, what's his name? Thanos.
Oh, Josh Brolin?
Yeah.
No, Thanos.
Oh, he's playing the role of Josh Brolin playing this role.
Yeah, it's Thanos on a farm. Yeah, it was
right.
It's the whole thing.
Yeah. All right, guys. Time to get out of here and do my FOCs, my orders. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you here again next Monday at 9 p.m. wherein we will do this all over again, but with different books and different other things. Yeah. That's it. We're done. Bye, Noel. Bye, Brian.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. We love you. Thank you so much.